coming up tonight, we have special guest in the house. And before we can go to this special guest, I want to be able to lay out some of the context. So we're going to have to get in a time machine. We're going to have to go back to the year 2013, way before COVID, maybe even before beards were in style. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see because I haven't seen it for 7 years. So this is a clip with me and special guest Benny Wills is in the house, and a friend, colleague, a graduate of the Autonomy School, and a new daddy. He's a new papa. And congratulations to him. Happy New Year. We're going to talk to him in a couple minutes. But first, let's dip back in time. I want to build out the context of the relationship that's been going on and what we might have talked about heretofore.
Drew or Delman, depending on how he introduces himself.
We call him Delman.
So let's now get down to the question, what does the name Joy Camp mean?
Well, Joy Camp comes from the book 1984. And in that book,
all right, so pause
Joy
it.
Camps
I know what context needs to be added here. All right, so what you see on screen there is Kevin Kostelnik on the left and Benny Wills on the right. He's got the tank top, the green tank top. Benny and Kevin and Delman and a couple other fellas like Tony, they used to be part of a troupe, a comedy troupe called Joy Camp. So the first question I had asked them, this is on my show back in the day, it was called History So It Doesn't Repeat. And the first question I asked is, what is a Joy Camp? Why did you guys call your comedy and brand it on YouTube as Joy Camp? There's a Joy Camp page. There's some caricatures of the fellows involved. That's excellent. And so that sets up kind of the clip. I was in it. I was actually meeting them for the first time. I loved their comedy videos. They were able to take this heavy duty information that's going on in the real world and make light of it and have some fun with it and bring some smiles, you know, amidst the dystopia that was unfolding even back then that we could see. So I thought these guys had brilliant creativity, and being able to communicate it in the skits that they were filming at that time was very remarkable. It still is. I highly recommend if you want some, giggles with some substance about what goes on in history. Yeah, that's definitely a place to check out for sure. So now you have the context of why I interviewed them in 2013, because they were making really cool videos back then. Let's roll it.
Joy Camp mean?
Well, Joy Camp comes from the book 1984. And in that book, Joy Camps are forced labor camps. So we stumbled upon the word and thought it had a great ring to it. And the rest is history. It just fits so perfectly.
Yeah, it's kind of it's cool actually, Joy Camp. It takes on a couple of meanings. You know, you have Joseph Atwill, if you're familiar with him and his work, he told us on a Skype call that Joy Camp to him is funny because in 1984 they get sent to this forced labor camp, which is called a Joy Camp, which sounds like a lot of fun. And with us, we're sending people into our Joy Camp, and they're it's having the reverse effect. They're having a good time, but they're also learning some of the truth in it. And also we like to be campy from time to time.
Well, I mean, the visual of the balloon rising up, trying to attain freedom, and the barbed wire kind of popping it is very deep. And I wanted to comment on the 1984 reference. I mean, you guys brought up history, not me. You guys brought it up, so this is your fault. Are you guys familiar with a Russian novelist of the 1920s named Yevgeny Zamyatin, who wrote a book called We, which was the inspiration for 1984 and Brave New World, but it wasn't really publicized in America?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Never heard of him and didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, right on. Now, wow. I feel like, we've done our due diligence to make this a history episode, and now...
Oh, gosh. Don't expose me.
No, we want to actually keep this as serious as possible.
Well, you could try, but I'm not going to be serious. I mean, I have serious questions, and you have serious answers.
That thumbnail I made behind me on the screen, that's from Shakespeare's Macbeth. That's the alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well. And he's got a skull in his hand, and I put the smiley face on the skull. I think that's how that thumbnail worked. Go ahead and roll the rest of it.
But I think there's going to be a lot of laughs in this episode because we're going to be playing clips of some of your brilliant compositions in the art of communication. How do you communicate these heavy topics? Not everyone wants to read 1984. But a couple of people start laughing at the videos, and then that seed's planted. And I think there needs to be a lot more laughter as we also do our homework and keep it factual. So building upon what you've spoken into existence thus far, What does Joy Camp do specifically? And, how did you guys come about to start doing it?
Well, it's actually funny the way we started. He and I have been friends for about 10 years or something now.
Yeah, exactly 10 years.
Yeah, well, we met at a community college through a mutual friend of ours who's in a few of our videos. He's in our 2012 Cocaine Remix video, and he's in our silent film, The Mystic Treasure. He's a Puerto Rican guy. His name's Tony. He's a really dear friend of ours. And he lives in San Francisco. We all lived there together for a couple years. Tony stayed when Benny and I came back to Los Angeles. And Tony randomly sent us a video that he made called Conspiracy Cologne. It was like 30 seconds. He filmed it on a camera or on a cell phone camera and sent it to us or posted it online, sent us a link. And we thought it was hysterical. So we both kind of joked and were like, let's do some type of conspiracy video and send it back to Tony. And I think we took a walk or something. We started talking about ideas, and we came up with the PSA, the Conspiracy Theorist PSA, which is the first video that we filmed together as Joy Camp. And that happened as a result of us having been making videos together for many years. We have them all still saved. We may release them over time on our channel just for sort of like a throwback. They're very funny, but they didn't really deal with truth. They were just slapsticky, silly stuff. So when Tony did this Conspiracy Cologne video and it inspired us to do this PSA, we sort of rounded up the troops. We got my brother Michael to film for us. We got a couple of other friends together, Nick and Delman, as he mentioned. And
Delman was not involved.
Delman wasn't with that one. He came a little later. But
yeah, don't give Delman credit for that one.
No, we don't let him give him any credit that he doesn't need.
Yeah. You hear that, Dylan?
Or deserve.
You hear that? So we went out to the reservoir. We live here in Silver Lake in Los Angeles. And we went on the grass where we filmed our chemtrails video and many others, our internet one. And it was very organic. The whole thing was just a lot of fun. Everybody was having a good time. We were laughing. Nick took it home, edited it in like a day. And once we saw the first cut of it, we were like, this is more than just something that we're going to send to our friend Tony for fun. Like, we found something here, like something organic happened here. And it wasn't long after that we had a package of 5 videos, which was the plan, a YouTube channel, the name, which came a little later, the email address and all that stuff. And we just sort of unleashed it online all at once. And immediately thereafter, we started connecting with people as a result. A year later, I think we have 30 videos now.
I think
a little over a year later, we've got about 30 videos. So we've been very productive in the last year, I'd say.
That's a Joy Camp with mostly Kevin talking. And they mentioned a couple documents. Does Control Room, do you guys have the links for the documents that were discussed there? Let's see. It looks like Labor Camp. There was an Infogalactic that Lawrence had, maybe. What is a Joy Camp? Let's figure that out. Or we could do that later.
He's muted. That's all. He's just muted.
Right on. Because there was an entry on the novel We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. That's always fun to say 10 times. Zamyatin.
Yevgeny Zamyatin, right here. We is a dystopian novel by Yevgeny Zamyatin from 1921, completed in 1921.
It's a collectivist novel because that's why it's called We. Collectivism rears its head again in history. Surprised.
You want to hear a bit about the setting, or?
Yeah, just give us a gist. Yeah. So we can be intelligent, know it exists, and why we might want to read it in the future if we get cut off from electricity and need good books to read.
Set in the future, D503, a spacecraft engineer lives in the One State, an urban nation constructed almost entirely of glass, which allows the secret police or slash spies to inform on and supervise the public more easily. Sounds kind of like a panopticon.
Well, this is written in the nascent times after the Bolshevik Revolution, 1921 Russia, you know, and in 1984 has a lot of it drawn from the Soviet activity of spying on its citizens and deleterious human rights atrocities, these sort of things going on that are being set up right here in North America right now. Continue on a little bit.
Yeah, I got ahead of myself. The structure of the state is analogous to the prison design concept developed by Jeremy Bentham, commonly referred to as the Panopticon. I didn't jump ahead. But
he's a British East India Company guy, Jeremy Bentham, by the way. Opium. They're interested in that. That's where he got his paycheck.
Furthermore, life is organized to promote maximum productive efficiency along the lines of the system advocated by the hugely influential F.W. Taylor of Taylorism fame, right?
Frederick Winslow Taylor, they must be talking about. Yeah, of Taylorism, scientific management of the individuals so they can be put into labor camps. Okay. All right, so let's leave that there because our point is introducing Benny Wills. So let's go to, do we have a clip lined up sampling some of his best work? That was the assignment. No, I'm just kidding. There was no assignment. Conspiracy guy coronavirus looks like. And then LD stop with the screen share.
For everybody. You are ruining it for everybody and people like me.
See, this is exactly what they want. It's exactly what they want. Division, polarization, isolation.
They're in our
The
Zoom
war
call.
on terror, it groomed us to think that the threat from outside could strike anywhere at any time without warning. But now the threat is your asymptomatic neighbor or someone you may have contact with outside your door out in public. COVID-19 is 9/11 in slow motion. It is the controlled demolition of everything. It's the totalitarian, Orwellian, tyrannical New World Order, and it is here at your doorstep right now.
Okay, well, I just went ahead and muted his ass, Tony, so I'm pretty sure that's the last we'll be hearing of him.
Oh, he's so negative.
What
He's
an
so
idiot.
So he probably doesn't get a lot of blowjobs.
Speaking of, did you hear that Pornhub is actually offering free premium membership?
Premium? I'm already a platinum member.
Do you think I could get that login information, or?
Is he telling the truth or is he telling a lie? He's the conspiracy guy.
Look, he's still going. Look at him. Look at this guy.
Wait. Can he hear us? You think?
Who's he talking to? Who do you think he's talking to?
All right, and then one other quick one we got lined up to introduce Benny Wills to the stage. I think this one's called it's something to do with Plato and the Allegory of the Cove.
Person to person, even for people who don't feel sick or know they're infected. The virus can spread when people breathe, talk, cough, or sneeze. When you need to go out, wear a face covering or mask.
We'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
Is our insistence now on wearing masks. I mean, masks are very important. They protect you from giving infection to someone else.
We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
You know the old expression about snitches? Well, in this case, snitches get rewards.
He is no longer restrained by the shadows on the wall. He's a free man about to explore a new world. like that video from West Virginia earlier today.
This will be interesting for the people in the audio only version, huh?
Wow, this is the part where he goes back to the cave, and according to the official story, they kill him. Let's see how it ends here.
I think all this stuff started with Plato.
Just communities. Eastern Iowa communities.
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CS4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and trying to be responsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country. Plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media.
Exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our
stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
I think one of you is not wearing a mask. You would be sure to take a mask from the table. Thank you.
It's a pandemic. These people wear the mask. Putting my health at risk. Ooh, baby like that. Baby like 7-Up. Just like mama. Selfish.
So if you were to escape the cave, if you were to question the shadows on the wall, if you were to go outside and experience the real world, and you were to try to come back and tell the folks in the cave what's going on, they can't hear you. That was expertly illustrated with is the definition of discordant music in the beginning and overwhelming noise versus the signal at the end. There's a lot of philosophy. There's a lot of photography and cinematography being demonstrated there. Special like animations. What do they call it when you do it on screen? I don't know. We'll ask Benny in a few seconds. So I wanted to take this opportunity to say that that's just a sampling of Benny Will's work. With Joy Camp, he's done a substantial amount of work on his own YouTube channel. You might check it out. It's Benny Wills. He's got a peacock on there, and his friendly face is usually on his avatar. And he's done words, which I highly recommend. These are off the cuff readings of famous historical documents that aren't famous because they don't want you to know this type of information. He also has written a poetry book. And he entertains himself on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube by doing a live stream covering the week's memes. It's a whole show just about the memes, and he packages them up and he delivers them to you. So if you think they're good, you can redistribute, because freedom is a meme. And they are trying to crack down on people being able to communicate in ways that are so efficient and effective, such as the meme, which is a mind virus. Freedom is a mind virus, and it's only a function that's necessary when slavery comes around. So it's there as a natural protection mechanism. All your fears are tied to your loss of freedom. There is something there to be learned about how the world works and how they might want to control human beings. But let's bring Benny to the group here. Let's say hi. How you doing, Benny? I heard you were a little under the weather this morning. Are you feeling better this evening?
Hey, Rich. Yeah, I thought I might have the flu, but apparently the flu doesn't exist in 2020, so I probably have COVID-19. Still feels like the flu though.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to make this, because I saw that you were supposed to do a live thing earlier today with reading the poem, and that got canceled. And then I was like, hey guys, we're gonna have to shuffle things because Benny's not gonna be available and he's probably not even gonna see my message. And then here you showed up. And
Show must go on.
the show must go on. All right. So for those of you who don't know Benny Wells, this is him. His better half, Sonia, is with their new son, probably in another room, but you saw her at the end of that video being sarcastic, by the way. She was not drinking 7-Up during her pregnancy. I just wanted to clear that up right away. And in the scene of the Allegory of the Cove, where those fiery things were falling from the sky, there was a big fiery thing that fell from the sky in West Virginia today. So that was part of the daily news, but I realized for listeners at home, might have been out of context. Benny, how's your life going since you became a dad, man?
How's my life what changed?
How's it going? How's it changing?
It's going great, really.
How's your sleep?
Sleep is better than it was the first few weeks. Rather inconsistent still. I am gonna sleep downstairs tonight in Teague, our son's nursery, because I don't want to get him sick or Sonia sick, just in case. But yeah, it's actually gotten a lot better. He's great. He's actually really not that difficult. He sleeps really well at night, doesn't take so many naps during the day, which can present some challenges. But no, he's been pretty awesome. And boy, he can sure change any emotion I'm feeling or anything I'm going through. Just experiencing him for a split second will cheer me up. So it's a real amazing adventure so far.
Well, that's awesome. And in that Joy Camp video from 2013, you were in LA. Where are you these days?
I'm in Eastern Washington, en route to Northern Idaho. We just bought a property in Northern Idaho, and we're getting out of this bluish state, you could say. But yeah, it's funny to watch that video from 2013. I was such a bachelor back then. Oh my God. I was wearing a tank top in our interview. And you may have noticed that my hair texture a little different. I was growing it out from a Brazilian blowout at that time. Not because I wanted one, because I got cast in a commercial where they wanted me to get a Brazilian blowout, and I did it. And that's where I was at when we did that video. And it's really funny to just go down memory lane and observe myself and how much has changed in 7 years.
Well, you did that commercial for the airline where you played a god, right? Maybe Control Room will be able to find one of those graphics. No, I'm just kidding.
It probably exists somewhere. I have them all downloaded, but yeah, that was a fun gig for a couple of years.
And I remember the first time I saw you in an ad was the Pizza Hut commercial when I was with my parents, because I was like, hey, that's my friend Benny. He's on TV. He's pitching pizza today. And now you don't do that anymore. You decided to leave LA and Hollywood and all that sort of thing behind because you had gotten to a point in your growth and you wanted to branch out beyond just doing the Joy Camp, and you wanted to see if you could do it full time. And the reason I wanted to invite you on tonight in the context of what we're doing is, back in January, you were the first person who made me incredulous about what we know now as COVID-19. Back then, it was just like China just built this huge hospital in 2 days or some incredible time. We see all that's going on over there. And then so I knew about the news. I had seen it in December. I saw it in January escalating. I was like, it's probably going to come here. What's going on with it? And then you made this comment. Was it during a words episode? And what did you say basically?
Well, I brought up Event 201.
Yeah.
Because I've been seeing people posting about it on, I think, Facebook. And so I decided to look into it and read about it on some fact checker website like PolitiFact or something, trying to debunk the potential connection. There's a conspiracy between Event 201 and the coronavirus, but all they did was confirm it. for me. And so I was just reading the article, saying in their own words exactly what Event 201 was all about and who was behind it and who was involved, and proving that there is definitely maybe not proving a conspiracy, but certainly makes you raise an eyebrow as to how what an astonishing coincidence it could be.
Yeah, so when I dug in, because first I was listening to you and I was incredulous. I was like, Event 201 I didn't know about. And then you're like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Johns Hopkins and World Economic Forum. And I was like, I was incredulous. I thought I should have heard of it heretofore. So I was like looking that up. I was like, geez, it's real and it's worse than he's even saying. So I got to dig deeper into it. And have they done these things before? And who are these entities involved? And the fact that it took place just 6 weeks or so before the first index patient or patient zero that was claimed. And then in between time was this giant joint military sports extravaganza in China that then sent all those people. So there was a very viable thread of evidence that was offered there. And in the context of the way I heard it from you, I was like, if I hadn't been incredulous and I had just believed you, I wouldn't have looked it up. So it was only because I was like, I better help Benny in case he's wrong, just in case like he's read it someplace and it's not true. And then I saw it's not even like it's on their own site. They have a YouTube channel. It's called the Center for Health Security. And they put the whole Event 201, and I watched the whole thing and watched all the summaries and read all about it and looked up all the people. And I was like, this is a real thing. This is not a conspiracy theory. And I'm not saying that they did it, but they ran a war game exercise on the exact thing that went on and is still going on and is being used as the reason for taking away everyone's freedom and such. So thank you for that.
That's always been the goal of everything I've ever endeavored into, is to try to get people to think and try to, if someone's going to prove me wrong, prove me wrong. I've never been one to lecture or try to tell people how to think. I try to offer something in a way that's palatable and hopefully gets those synapses firing and inspires the person to look into it themselves and, get even more synapses firing.
Well, in that frame of mind, your friend Liam wrote a book in which he told the story, kind of the true story of how polio was eradicated. And it's a very different story than what everyone believes today. In fact, polio still exists. It was a goal of the United Nations to get rid of it by 2000. They still didn't do that. They still don't have a vaccine. The vaccines they're using are actually creating polio in kids in Africa right now. So what was Liam's perspective? How did you know him? And why is he one of the greatest authors people haven't heard about in the 20th century, 21st century?
So, okay, Liam Chef, who is just an awesome guy, a great sense of humor. He's one of the first people to reach out to Kevin and me after we launched Joy Camp. And I think actually our very first, either our first or our second interview was with him and Robert Scott Bell on the Robert Scott Bell Show. And then, I don't know, we just became fast friends. He ended up staying in our apartment in LA for months at a time. And we were sort of his, whenever he would be passing through, he would stay at our place. And we developed a real bond. And he wrote a book called Official Stories, which I still think is one of the best primers for anybody who's starting to ask questions about reality and conspiracy. And because he makes it funny. And I'm a big fan of using humor as a tool. And it's very easy to read. The structure is very basic. And it's lighthearted in spite of the subject matter. And what he basically shows with polio is that all they do is change the definition and they can fudge the numbers any way they want. So they can make it seem like the vaccine cured polio, but actually it made polio worse. But they changed the definition of what polio could be and how many days, after the vaccine, the person showed symptoms. And they just totally changed their own definition and then said, hey, it's a success. It's that simple. The same can be applied to smallpox, but that's a whole other story. That's kind of who Liam was. And Liam, unfortunately, died a couple of years ago, and very sad, but that book is just as relevant today as ever. And yeah, he was a great guy. And his YouTube channel, I think, still exists. And I would recommend checking it out because he's able to be funny always. in spite of how serious the subject matter is.
Well, Liam's YouTube, if it still exists, you say it does. The control room's going to find it. They're going to link it in the episode notes for this right below your various websites, which I'm sure will be in the reference notes by the time we get it all
Definitely
published.
get his book on Amazon.
Yeah, and he passed away before his time, but he had time to encapsulate some real wisdom, and that's an embodiment of his energy while he was walking this planet, and it continues to serve people today in a positive way that instills freedom. I think things like that need to be collected, studied, and protected if freedom's to exist in the future. And it wasn't on my radar at all until you brought it on my radar, man.
Cool. Yeah.
Where
great.
it came on the radar was that conspiracy guy clip, and I meant to play that part. Would you guys like to see that really quick? It's like a 1 minute little section of that clip that I kind of chopped off and meant to show that part of where Richard heard about all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Value add. I don't have audio yet.
Let that sink in. Did you guys know?
Right now, just in front of me right now, I bet.
Bill Gates is a eugenicist. He wants to reduce the population. In fact, he said that the solution to overpopulation are vaccinations. Let that sink in. Did you guys know that in 2017, the World Health Organization had to admit that the global polio explosion was predominantly from a vaccine strain straight from Bill Gates' vaccine program? And by 2018, 3/4 of the global polio cases were from his vaccines. Oh, and by the way, in October 2019, he funded and hosted a coronavirus pandemic exercise called Event 201. But I guess that's probably just...
All right, I got him again, Tony. Well, I banned him this time, so I'm pretty sure that...
And why are we being told to stay inside when we should be going outside? Sunshine and fresh air are disinfectants.
Listen, man, I swear, dude, if I ever see you outside and you aren't 6 feet away from me, I will go to the closest authority.
I will collect that award. I will collect that award and I will
You're the one that's ruining this for everybody. You are ruining it for everybody and people like me.
See, this is exactly what they want. It's exactly what they want. Division, polarization, isolation. You know, the war on terror,
Well played, Mr. Bloyer. Thank you. All right, Benny. So you guys have continued to produce videos. Your mind is always going on these types of topics when you're seeing social media. You can't help it, right? What's your thought process? How do you actually go from hearing a news blurb or reading a story to what's your creative process to make it funny? Because I think that's something that is sorely lacking and missing in the world right now. Like, is there a formulaic approach? What's your methodology? What is teachable from how you do what you do?
Sure. Well, I mean, my creative process now is a little different than it was when we were doing the Joy Camp videos, because I'm not in California anymore and we don't produce much Joy Camp content. So we did 2 videos this year. One was that one, which we did via Zoom. And the second one was that Allegory of the Cove. And I just happened to be in Southern California, so we were able to do it. So that the process of creating those is, not really a process. But my personal creative process, I mean, now my main focus is poetry. And I've been doing poetry now for, almost 4 years. I guess almost 4 years. And my process is really simple. I write 1 poem a month. That's my goal. And it's really easy. I shouldn't say it's easy, but it's an accomplishable goal. And I set aside the time. And my poetic process is really just discipline and letting the ideas flow, knowing that I'm going to produce something and then seeing what it is. And I usually will have an idea and I'll start with some line or something, a word or a phrase, a rhyming couplet, and then let it evolve. And oftentimes that first bit will be not what it ends up being, but I just stick with it and I commit to finishing and producing. And I've been doing that now for about 3 years, and it's a pretty good process for me because I don't overwhelm myself, but I also don't let myself off. I don't let myself off the hook. So that works.
And part of that internal discipline of getting it done comes with, well, now that you wrote it, what are you going to do with it? And you've done a lot of your poetry in front of live audiences, expressing yourself from stages. So was it in Acapulco where you first did that, or where did you first say, as opposed to just making a video and putting it on YouTube, you're like, I'm going to stand in front of people, say some funny stuff that's relevant in a poetic way, or maybe even draw out their emotions in a poetic way. But you were taking these other elements of your creativity and ingenuity and inventiveness, and you were performing it in a new medium, if you will, from the stage to a one-to-many to an audience that wasn't electronic, it was in real life.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, when the first poem I wrote, it's kind of similar to the story that Kevin told about us creating that first Joy Camp video. We stumbled into it, and once we did it, it was like, oh, this is obviously something that we should explore. I wrote my first poem called Bill Lost His Memory as a way to distract myself from a heartbreak that I was going through. I needed to filter that energy into something else, and so I did, and it got my mind off it, and it was very therapeutic, and I produced something of value. And the goal with the poem was to get to speak to everybody. I wanted to like tap into the things that we all can relate to, as far as like understanding problems in the world and what unifies us. And that was the goal with that poem, and then sort of the goal with all the poems since. I always want my work to be able to be heard by anybody and not be too offensive or something that seems too conspiratorial or I don't know, whatever terms they want to alt-right or whatever they want to apply to people like me. And that was the goal with Joy Camp as well, was trying to just trim the fat, get right to the essence of the thing, so that it was too hard. So it would be hard to ignore, hard to avoid, because it's so, it's so direct. And then hold their attention. And so, yeah. And I did. And my first time performing was at Acapulco in 2017. And I was invited to be a speaker. And I had a 45-minute slot. And I had spoken at the very first Acapulco 2 years prior. And I gave a speech, and it was well received. But I realized that there's so many people giving speeches. I'm not an expert. I don't consider myself an expert in any particular subject, but I am a really good performer because I've been doing particularly stage acting since I was a kid. I have 25 years of stage experience, and I have 2 degrees in stage acting. And at one point I did 50 plays in a row over the course of 10 years. So I've been on stage a lot. So I thought, I'm a good performer. I should use the opportunity to do what I do best. So I've been writing poetry, and I decided to just surprise an audience with a poetry set, not knowing how it would go over. I mean, it was an anarchist crowd. I didn't know how. I mean, I felt like it would probably be received well because I was confident in myself, but I also, took a risk because it's at 4:00 in the afternoon. They're expecting to see someone give a PowerPoint, and I went up there and did rhyming poetry. But it ended up being really successful. And I got 3 standing ovations in my 40-minute slot. And it was very confirming. And from there, it's been a really, really wild ride. I've been traveling, well, before this year, I've been traveling all over the world, performing at all kinds of events that are truth, freedom, liberty oriented, as well as then emceeing events as a result of that. And yeah, it really Joy Camp brought me to one level, and then the poetry has brought me to another level. And yeah, that's where I am now.
And then I think your communication skills and your stage presence takes it to another level. Cause like you said, you went there to an Acapulco, which luckily is an anarcho-capitalist event, and they might've covered some fees for you. But then as you build the skill set, now you're getting paid as MC, and people want to book you 6 months ahead of time for their conference, and to be able to do these other things that, you could have done them when you were at Joy Camp, but you weren't there yet. So then as you spiral up with your experience and continue to practice your craft and kind of sharpen your axe every day, sharpen your sword like the samurai, then you're expressing yourself in new and different ways. And now these opportunities are coming to you. You don't have to go chasing like the idea of having you speak on stage is now people who host conferences ideas. And now you're just waiting there for them to click on your website and move forward. So that's a lot nicer plan than pitching 30-second ads on TV. And how many jobs do you get a year doing that? Because that was like your whole lifestyle to get those few jobs, but now you can do something you love every day that has meaning and substance, and you aren't prostituting your skills to the world for some money. You're saying, I'm going to do what I want and see how the world reacts, and that's very courageous.
Thank you. And that's it's funny because you brought up that Pizza Hut commercial, and that was the job that really was the nail in the coffin for me, as far as really accepting and understanding and being honest with myself that I was compromising my integrity ultimately by doing commercials. I was selling myself short, even though I was getting paid well. It's a competitive industry and I was doing well at it. I was using all the time and all the energy and all the money and everything I put into becoming a talented actor was now just being used to sell products that more than likely were only going to be unhealthy for somebody. And
except for Apollo Airlines, where you played the god Apollo.
That's true.
I don't think they crashed. That was probably like that was a good gig, I'm sure.
That was exactly, yeah. Being for a travel agency, being the spokesman for a travel agency in Scandinavia for 3 years was a great gig. But then coming back and doing things like Pizza Hut, I mean, people were commenting on Joy Camp videos and saying like, "What are you doing? Like Pizza Hut?" And I thought, well, I don't give you a hard time for how you make your money. We all have to make money somehow. But when I realized that that was kind of a cop-out answer and I could do better, and to stop being confusing, like to see me in these Joy Camp videos and then to see me in a pizza commercial, I could see where they'd be like, what? Who is this guy? So, yeah, I made the very difficult choice to walk away from that industry. And it took a while when I had the thought, and then when I actually walked away, it took a couple of years because it's all I'd ever known. I mean, I'd been preparing to be a professional actor in Hollywood since I was 4 years old. And to walk away was very intimidating. And also sad and frustrating because I thought I'd wasted all this time. I wasted so much of my life pursuing something that is no longer relevant. So then circling back to the poetry and the emceeing, it made all that make sense. It's almost like therapeutic for me, like healing, like, oh, actually I did all of that so that I could now be a performer and a presenter and a poet in this way, and not even play characters anymore, just play myself, which is even more exciting. So it all worked out. But it's been a wild ride.
Well, you got married. How long has it been since you got married? Almost 2 years?
It's been almost 2 years. Yes, we got married twice. Not many people know that, but we had a private little ceremony in March of 2019 so that I could get put on her health insurance, essentially. And then we had a big celebratory wedding in October later that year, which looking back was like right before the world changed forever. But yeah, we've been married since, so we look at it like October is the anniversary. So we've been married for just a little over a year. And now we have a son who's just a little over 2 months old.
And in good health and with mama right now. So that's a good
They're in
place
good
for her to
health.
be.
I not so much.
Well, you're in good spirits. You're in high spirits, and you're keeping safe and up in your vitamins, right? You got good supplements going on, some vitamin
I've
D,
been
some zinc.
pounding vitamin C and magnesium and oregano oil all day long.
All right, good.
And
Your body's
ginger
just going
tea.
through, that illness is just weakness leaving the body, something like that. You'll be good.
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's a phase of life. We shouldn't treat it like it's the end of the world if it's not the end of the world. And if it is the end of the world, we don't need to treat it like anything. There's no treatment for that.
I couldn't suffer my way through a presentation that I was really excited about at 11:30 this morning because I just had a pounding headache and I thought, not worth it. I'd rather like have more energy to present this stuff that's totally from my heart and that I've been working on all year. So I postponed it till tomorrow.
And you got the meme show tomorrow night too.
Well, that's the thing. So tomorrow night, instead of the meme show, I'm doing the poetry performance.
Oh, right on.
And then on Wednesday, I'm doing the best memes of 2020, which is highly anticipated. I've been talking about it for weeks. People are looking forward to it, but that's going to be closer to the new year. And then tomorrow night, they can come and watch me do what I do best.
So people who are already watching this on YouTube, take another browser tab, open it, find YouTube, get Benny Wills on your YouTube subscriptions, click that bell so you can see those live events. And then if you don't think it's funny, unsubscribe. But go ahead and subscribe on the good say of this program. That'd be good for that. And right after you guys got married, you jumped into my autonomy course. You and Sonia went through it, blazed right through it. Your project was a major one, which was taking all this experience that you've had over the 25 years and showcasing that and exploring that and seeing what is valuable to people and what do they want to learn and how do they want to improve their communication skills. And we can get into the parts of that that I thought were fascinating and weren't even planned on and why it was successful in its first go around. But do you want to explain like what your project is, when it's going to be on the market and out there and you're doing it? Do you have a date yet? Tell us the exciting update on your project.
Sure. Well, the project is called Parrhesia.
I've heard
And
of
it's a
that.
word that I learned from you during the autonomy course. And it's a seldom used word from our lexicon, meaning to speak freely or boldly, or as I like to say, just free speech. And what's funny is you actually use the term art of communication in our interview in
Mhm.
2013 in a clip we just watched. And the course is called Parrhesia, the Art of Communication. And it was birthed through the autonomy course. Because
But I can also point out that Peace Revolution, my podcast, episode number 8 was called Parrhesia, and it was the blueprint for the autonomy course.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's kind of like this, I don't know where it
Cool.
starts.
But you know, throughout that process, throughout those weeks, it really, and you were talking a lot about what filling needs for people. What do we put people need? And in 2020, it's really been, like I said in the conspiracy guy video just now, the polarization and isolation is out of control, and it's on purpose. We're intentionally divided more than ever, and they don't want us communicating. I mean, they're literally telling people to stay home, so their only source of information is the television, and anybody who is speaking contrary to what's on the TV is a conspiracy theorist. Don't listen to them. And then if they're a Trump supporter, they're a Nazi. It's like such, and of course it comes from goes both ways, but it's just incredible division, and divided we fall. And we need to be able to communicate with efficiency now more than ever. And I think I'm the guy to help you do that, because I've been practicing and honing and sharpening my own skills of communication my entire life. I mean, that's what acting is. It's communicating. So performing is. It's communicating. That's what being struggling in the world as a conspiracy theorist is. It's communicating. You have to be able to communicate. So from my own experience, I've acquired tools over the course of 2.5 decades that I've consolidated into a very precise lesson plan that I can help you find your voice, and not only find your voice, but free your own speech, build confidence, speak with authority and charisma, but not be heavy-handed, how to keep your emotions aside and speak, directly and to the point, neutrally, and open up avenues of exploration for people to explore themselves without you, fire hosing them with information. And then, of course, at the end, it's how to express yourself creatively. Because I think that, an artistic expression is sometimes more effective than a conversation. In fact, probably most of the time, an artistic expression will be more efficient because it's hard to challenge an artistic expression. So if you can figure out a way to find your voice creatively, which we all have the capacity for, we all have a masterpiece inside of us. We're created beings meant to create. So I can help unlock that. And that's what I'm doing. And the course is launching in just a couple of weeks. And honestly, I'm possibly more excited about this than I've ever been about anything that I've launched into. Because it's the synthesis of everything that I've already done. It's all the acting training. It's the not only the acting training, but then the ability to get work as an actor, poetry, writing, producing content on YouTube, and figuring out how to maintain relationships with people who have different opinions than me. And that's my life for the past 20 years. So I'm ready to help. And there's only a few spots left. If anybody out there is interested, please contact me ASAP because we're going to start soon, and I'd love to have you involved.
Yeah, that's legit scarcity because you can only pay attention to so many people in the course. And then one of the cool secret sauce pieces of what I saw, because anytime that a student goes through the autonomy course and has a project such as this, there's a whole bunch of people who want to help participate in the creation and the recording and the posting to get it all just right. So when Benny takes it public, like it works, he's done it before. All the components in there that need to be there are there. And one of the best unexpected parts, the secret sauce, was all the communication, the coaching, just hearing you coach one of the students on a poem that he or she, because I heard it in many cases, create and help them read it and voice their own voice in a more eloquent and substantial way. And another aspect was the speaking to one person or speaking to two or three people is very different to speaking to many people, especially in the points you're making, because they have a group mentality. Like Gustave Le Bon says, once a group of people gets together, they're no longer thinking on their own. So there's a different mentality, and Benny's taking students through that. So the growth that goes on during, how many weeks is your course planned for? And how many weeks was the first one? Because it was a little bit long. I think we condensed it.
It's looking like it'll be between 8 and 10, I would say.
Yeah, between 8 or 10 weeks. So that's a curriculum meeting, right? Some sort of unfolding of a lesson. And then what are your practice sessions that you work one-on-one or in the small groups, or how do you do it?
Yeah, well, there's multiple. I mean, there's some you will get one-on-one coaching, but there's a lot of group coaching as well, so that we can, because I think that the more you work in front of your peers, the more comfortable you'll be, because you'll get over your insecurities. And that's one of the most important parts of the whole course, is just overcoming self-doubt. I mean, what keeps us from doing almost anything in life is our own doubt in ourselves. So overcoming self-doubt, not just, this is the point that I've been making often recently, not eradicating fear necessarily, but taming it. If you just focus on, I have to never feel fear, well, then you might be working on that for the rest of your life. Because to me, it's not about conquering it. It's about getting on top of it and working with it, taming it so that it doesn't hold you back, and how to use that energy, redistribute it so that it's actually something that's helpful. I mean, because nervous energy is energy, but yeah.
Nervous energy is energy, especially useful when channeled through methodologies that you can call upon in situations where other people were like, they don't know what to do. But if you go through a little practice and you internalize it, then you have competence, and that gives people what they're actually looking for, which is confidence. So as part of going through the course, you had to learn, Benny, about making a landing page and having your offer and all these fine things. Where can people see yours now that you are making an offer to the public and being an entrepreneur? Straight up.
Well, you can go to my website. That's really easy. It's bennywills.com. Or if you want to go get specific and just check out everything Parrhesia has to offer, go to productions.bennywills.com, and you'll get all the information. I feel I've done so many edits of it, and I feel it's really represents the course well. So productions.bennywills.com. Or if you forget that, just remember my name, bennywills.com. It's not Willis. Most people think it's Willis. It's Wills. There's one I. And reach out to me. I mean, on my meme show, I have my email address literally on the screen the entire time, benny@bennywills.com. I'm very easy to get a hold of, and I'll answer any questions you might have. And I'm passionate about this, because going into 2021, it's going to get weirder, and we have to build bridges to each other and not just write people off.
Well, I think it could be ending up to be one of the things that you are best at. You've been really good at some other things, but they're not hitting. And this is the thing that you're excited about, and you have the experiential opportunity, and you know how to make your offer to the market. And now's a good time. Like, people need communication skills now to bridge these gaps more than ever, because we're going to be left without electricity and a whole lot of questions if these people are left to have their way. So it's like, well, let's do it sooner than later. Let's figure out how to have the skills to move forward to be able to, like you said, everyone's polarized. How can we unpolarize them? When you went in the Allegory of the Cove video and you went and tried to talk to the guys on the sofa, they can't hear you. We need to be able to put new pictures on their screens.
Exactly.
You're helping people to do that as well by demonstrating by example.
Don't be the conspiracy guy. That character in all the Joy Camp videos was based off of me and how I was when I first started realizing that there was a conspiracy. Don't be that guy. That guy you will just distance them further from the information that you're trying to get them to understand. And there's a lot more finesse, nuance, and tactics you can employ that aren't too, you don't have to like scramble to remember once you understand the mechanics of that I can help you with.
Well, and I think the other aspect I noted, because I didn't want to interrupt you, the memes, the comedy, the poetry, and the media, like that's a solution set that is an intellectual arsenal for folks. If we can't make people laugh about this, they'll always be in fear and they'll always be losing their power. So you got to make people be able to laugh, even if it's gallows humor about some of these situations, right? The poetry aspect. Poetry is epic because, see that pun? It can carry a narrative to people in a way that's easily remembered. The memes aspect on Monday night, man, that's freedom going on. And one side's kind of jealous because they can't meme very well. I don't know. I don't take sides, but I do watch the environment. One side is definitely funnier than the other side. So in these efforts to elevate human consciousness to the art form where you can live a lifestyle of liberty and freedom, I think you're doing a superb job, Benny, of choosing your project carefully and timing it in the market when, yeah, dude, people need it now sooner than later because their freedom's going bye-bye. And it's the absence of learning skills and intellectual self-defense, but also coupled with the rhetoric of how do we get this out to other people? And you're one of the few people who have a leadership position in that area.
I really appreciate you saying that. It's an honor because you are one of the heroes of this whole situation that we're in. And just listening to your interview with Jay Dyer earlier today was a reminder of how well read and yeah, knowledgeable you are of so much. I mean, you are a walking encyclopedia and library of information, and you do what you just complimented me on, which is relay information simply and even humorously in a way so it's not heavy-handed. And watching the two of you speak together, I mean, there's a reason why that video has 100,000 views, and you guys know what you're talking about.
We were both surprised by it.
You make it easy to hear.
Even Jay and I we're like, dude, I don't know who's
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's
So
bigger
thank
than
you for
both
saying
of our
that, and I
audiences.
appreciate that. And it's really cool to just have a seat at the table, you know. And I'm glad that every time I'm at a conference and I'm performing poetry, it's so exciting. I'm like, I get to be this guy. I get to be the guy who goes to these freedom conferences and performs poetry. Wow.
And wears red
How lucky
suits.
am I?
You wear a red suit like Dan Locke.
Yeah, yes. Me and Dan Locke.
All right, I'm going to let you off the hook because I know you want to get some rest and you'd be willing to stay here and entertain more conversation. But I think that if people want more, they're going to be subscribed to your YouTube and see you this week, right? You're going to be on tomorrow. You're going to be on Wednesday.
Yes,
and
twice this week.
Yeah.
And the poetry are great little morsels. Like the poetry, when I just write the words and post them on Facebook, I'll get likes from people who are, you know, more normie oriented, because I think I can sometimes I tap into that thing that we all can relate to, and it's powerful. Can be.
Yeah,
Powerful.
there's a special magic to poetry, and too few people practice it. Though we do have a good Saturday night group in Autonomy, Benny. You should drop by. It's called Renaissance Revolution. It's like 7 p.m. Eastern, might be 4 p.m., might be too early for you. But some of the poetry I hear dropped in there by the students and graduates is quite impressive.
Awesome.
I'm impressed by anyone who can verbalize it, but you do it quite well. And when does your course start? When are you going to start it?
Well, good question. I think we'll be starting within the next 2 weeks. I just have to make sure that everyone who's involved already, who signed up already, that their schedules are complimentary, and then we'll pick the exact date and time, but no later than mid-January.
Yeah, it's like getting on an airplane without the COVID test. You're going to sit there at the gate for a second, and then it's going to depart and slowly hit the runway. And when it hits the runway, you want to make sure it clears the trees. So we'll make sure all the infrastructure, everything's checked, and you'll take off and you'll be all good. And then are you going to teach that course for the rest of your life, or do you have other things up your sleeve?
We'll see what happens. I mean, there's so much to take care of now. You know, looking back at that video in 2013, I was looking out for just me back then, and now I have a family, and that just brings in a whole new sense of responsibility. And now with what's going on in the world, I want to be as self-sufficient as possible. So I want to make sure that I have some resources available on site that I can manage without help, and building community. I think that's a really important thing. You know, Northern Idaho has a great community already, but I think it can be even stronger. And there's a lot of people there who have leadership qualities that I think we can really band together and become a real force of resistance. Because we still live in a consent-based reality. It's still consensual. No one's holding a gun to our heads yet. So it's important to remember that we still have a choice in all this. And anyway, Parrhesia for now, for the foreseeable future, because I think it's important. And then we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, thank you for stepping up to the challenge and meeting and greeting the challenge with a plan, a smile, and the resourcefulness to get her done. What you're doing is valuable, and I look forward. I was one of the first people to enroll in the upcoming public season because I want to see how the second time goes through. So I'll be there, and you get yourself some rest. I'll check you tomorrow.
All right, thanks,
I'll be
Rich.
watching.